Shep, yeah, first it was that upside-down pyramid flying over a Navy destroyer back in 2019. Now we have new video taken from the same month around the same area, but this time it was something flying near one of the Navy's stealth ships when it suddenly plunged into the water and disappeared.
Whoa, it's getting close.
On a pitch-black night off the coast of California, newly leaked video allegedly shows one of the U.S. Navy's stealth ships tracking an unknown object in the sky. And after a few minutes,
Splashed. Mark bearing and range.
The 2019 footage obtained by filmmaker Jeremy Corbell, who last month released another video of an upside-down pyramid UFO hovering above a Navy destroyer.
This is part of a much larger series of events that we're going to be learning about.
The Pentagon confirming the video was taken by Navy personnel. The images now being reviewed by a government task force set to brief Congress next month on what they call unidentified aerial phenomenon. This weekend, 60 Minutes speaking to fighter pilots who reported seeing unidentified flying objects.
Every day for at least a couple years.
Former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence Chris Mellon says sensor technology has improved dramatically over the years, but pilots have reported seeing some of the same things for decades.
Are there any similarities between these recent incidents and incidents that go back as far as half a century?
There seems to be a lot of continuity there.
He says one of the biggest problems is the stigma that comes with talking about UFOs, something a Navy lieutenant commander also told CBS she struggled with after she and 3 others saw a 40-foot flying object disappear in 2004.
You know, I think that over beers we've sort of said, hey man, if I saw this solo, I don't know that I would have come back and said anything because it sounds so crazy when I say it.
How would you describe this thing that we can't explain?
What we're seeing are a number of distinct and different things. Sometimes we're seeing a 50-foot object that can travel at hypersonic speeds and seemingly go into orbit or come down from, altitudes above potentially 100,000 feet.
Do you think that we will see a release from the government that shows something conclusively?
There is more that could be shared, will be shared with Congress for certain. I don't see that coming to the public soon.
And Shep, it's important to note that we really just keep seeing these small glimpses of leaked videos, while things like the original longer high-definition footage, radar data, telemetry data, sonar data, that hasn't been released because most of it is classified. And there could be some worldly explanations. This could be drones from Russia or China or a top-secret U.S. project. But at this point, we just don't know, and it's up to Congress to ask for classified briefings to get to the bottom of this whole mystery. Shep?
We're going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots to the west.
After releasing new video captured by military pilots and authenticating older footage leaked online, the Pentagon says something is definitely out there. Call them UFOs if you want. The Pentagon is going with unidentified aerial phenomena. Fast, agile, and totally mysterious. And now everyone wants answers. Are they alien? Are they human? Are they hostile?
There's something out there that was better than our airplane.
If it's something of outside this planet, that might actually be better than the fact that we've seen some technological leap on behalf of the Chinese or the Russians.
Jack, what is that thing?
How the hell should I know?
A mainstay of pop culture, UFOs have always captured the imagination. But what is real? The sightings do go back years and several presidents. Even the ever-rational Barack Obama maintains an open mind, talking about them on a late-night show.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are.
Intelligence officials will brief Congress on all this next month. To discuss all of this, we have Chris Rutkowski, a prominent Canadian ufologist and science writer, and Matthew Hayes, a UFO historian. Thanks very much for joining us on the program tonight. Chris, I want to just start with the U.S. How do you describe the way in which these objects were moving?
Well, certainly, depending on whether you're talking about what was seen in the videos versus what was reported to be seen by the pilots. On the videos, the objects appear to be moving in some unusual, erratic manner, but according to some, the analysis shows that these things may actually be, in some cases, stationary or not moving very fast at all. So it's a problem in the interpretation.
Yeah, and Matthew, I am struck because this was not just one-offs. These were multiple military pilots seeing the same kind of thing day after day over years.
That's right, and it goes back quite far. I mean, in my own research, I go back decades, not just a few years, but back to the 40s, where these claims are not necessarily common, but we've seen them before. And that was the thing that struck me the most, is that of all of these claims that are being made, they could be straight out of the 1950s.
Chris, why reveal all of this now? When I look at the American context, why talk about it at this point?
Well, that's actually a very good question. Because, as Matt was saying, we've seen a lot of this before. But in this particular case, there's been a lot of intense interest. I think a lot of people were very interested in hearing what Barack Obama had to say. The fact that even though it was a comedy talk show, he actually paused and said, let's get serious for a moment. But the Defense Department has been under a lot of pressure ever since some of these videos were leaked, and we're not entirely sure who leaked the original one back in 2007. And it's caused a lot of people to think this could be it. This could be the year of disclosure, even though I doubt that's what we're going to be seeing.
Okay, let's be clear about what you're saying. What is the year of disclosure? What would the disclosure be?
Well, people, I think, are expecting that the United States government is finally going to say, yeah, we have the discs, or that UFOs are real, or that the aliens are here. And yet that's not really what we're seeing. The videos themselves might have some interesting explanations. Some people have already explained the videos away. We're not sure what the pilots have seen, but there's no question these objects have been seen for many years. And a lot of interpretations suggest that these things are capable of some sort of flight and propulsion that we don't understand. And yet we can't really say that just from these videos.
Now, just because something can't be explained doesn't mean that it's alien. But Matthew, there are multiple reports as well. I look to your work in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. My work stretches back as late as the 1940s, actually, when it all began, 1947 with Roswell and a couple other incidents. So this goes back quite far. It's not just a matter of a few years, but a matter of a few decades. 75 years or so. So there is actually quite a long history to this. Many of the sighting reports that are coming out, many of the things described are very, very similar, if not exactly the same as a lot of reports, especially from the 1950s. I've been telling this to a few people that you could just switch the dates on a lot of these articles and they'd be straight out of the 50s. We've been hearing about imminent disclosure for a very long time. And so I'm somewhat doubtful that that's going to come to pass, but at the very least, there is a lot of continuity over the years.
Chris, what are some of the things that you know of from Canada?
Well, in fact, things are being seen right up till now. I know Matt's research covered up until about the 90s. I continue on after that. As recently as May the 9th, there was a report through Transport Canada of a Delta Airlines flight that was flying between Fairbanks, Alaska, and Minneapolis. It was right over Hudson Bay, Saskatchewan, and the pilot reported to air traffic control that he had seen an unusual light passing above him. He was already flying at 39,000 feet. And according to air traffic control, there was nothing around him. So we get these reports all the time. They continue. There's nothing to say that they're alien. But the question is, if things are being reported to Transport Canada, there's always a question as to, does this endanger passengers? Is there a problem with the technology? Is there a problem with the pilot's observation? And I think that'll alone suggests that we should be looking at UFOs a little more seriously.
And yet, when we talk about UFOs and seriously, I mean, Chris, I would go back to you. Surely there has been, over the time of you being a ufologist, there have been people who have immediately dismissed what you do.
Yes and no. I'm not the type of person who goes around with a tinfoil hat and saying that aliens are here, guard your children. What I'm saying is that there are a lot of UFO reports out there. In fact, in Canada, there's around 1,000 UFO reports filed every year with various agencies, including Transport Canada and the Department of National Defence, the Canadian Armed Forces. And polls suggest that 1 in 10 Canadians believe they've seen UFOs. There's a lot of people out there who have had experiences, and the question is, what is being seen? And we can explain most cases, but there's a small residual amount every year that sort of make us think let's try and understand what's going on. And I think this is what's happening in the United States, that people want to know what's this residual amount.
Yeah, when you don't have an explanation for something, those questions persist. Matthew, Chris, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
For decades, UFOs have been the stuff of science fiction. Could they also possibly be the stuff of reality? Our David Pogue is in hot pursuit of an answer.
We've always been fascinated by aliens.
We have come to visit you in peace and with goodwill.
And that's putting it mildly. And mathematically speaking, aliens should exist.
There are 2 trillion other galaxies we can see, each with 100 billion Earth-like worlds. 100 billion. Okay, it's hard to believe they're all sterile.
Seth Shostak is the senior astronomer at the SETI Institute. SETI stands for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. I happen to know that this is sort of a trick question when people say, do UFOs exist?
I mean, obviously UFOs exist because that just means unidentified flying objects. But the real issue here is not that you see things in the sky, it's what you claim they might be.
You just can't assume if you see something in the sky that looks a little weird that it's some kind of alien thing, which is what a lot of people assume.
Author and investigative journalist Leslie Kane.
Most sightings that people have, oh, I see something in the sky, those kinds of sightings can usually be explained. The planet Venus, airplanes, comets, shooting stars, birds, let's say 5 to 10% are the cases that any conventional explanation can be ruled out. Those are the cases that are of interest.
In 2017, Kane co-authored a New York Times story that revealed the existence of, believe it or not, a secret Pentagon program devoted to studying UFO sightings.
It was a huge revelation to know that the government took it that seriously. There's really been a sea change of attitude towards this topic. It's not to say that there's no more ridicule, but it's way less.
And sure enough, in a CBS News poll, 2/3 of Americans say they believe that there's intelligent life on other planets, up 10% from 2017. The Times story included links to 3 videos captured by Navy fighter jet pilots in 2004 and 2015 with infrared sensors.
Oh my gosh. They're all going against the wind. Look at that thing, dude. It's rotating.
The Navy and the Department of Defense have not been able to explain what this thing was, with all the work they've done on it.
More recently, Navy sailors captured this night vision video of 3 triangular somethings off the California coast. The Pentagon declined our request for an interview, but offered a statement that said, in part, the Department of Defense takes any incursions by unauthorized aircraft very seriously and examines each report. As we collect additional data, we expect to close the gap between the identified and unidentified to avoid possible strategic surprise.
That's always the biggest question. Is it Chinese? Is it Russian? Could it be their technology? And if it is, we're in trouble because they're way ahead of us.
I don't think I've ever spoken to anyone who has seen more reports, paperwork, photographs, interviews as you on this topic. Has there ever been a confirmed extraterrestrial ship?
We'd have to say no. We'd have to say what's confirmed is that we don't know what this, let's call it a ship or an object. We don't know what it is. We can just say what it isn't. Right. And you can ask yourself, well then what? And of course, what we call the extraterrestrial hypothesis is a valid one. I mean, maybe it is from some other place in the universe.
Now, the military's secret program was only one 2017 surprise. Oumuamua was another. Oumuamua, which means scout in Hawaiian, is something that a Hawaiian telescope glimpsed in 2017 just as it was leaving the solar system.
We cannot really chase it. It's moving faster than any rocket that we can produce.
Avi Loeb teaches astrophysics at Harvard. Until last year, he was the chair of Harvard's astronomy department.
Prior to the discovery of Oumuamua, we have never seen an object from outside the solar system. It's the first interstellar object, and that by itself surprised me.
Loeb identified 3 other strange characteristics of Oumuamua. First, it seemed to be flat, like a pancake. Second, it had no tail, as a comet does. Finally, it was accelerating away from the sun, as though being pushed.
And in order for that to happen, the object had to be very thin, sort of like a sail reflecting light, instead of reflecting the wind as you find on a sailboat.
A pair of Harvard scientists say a massive, fast-moving visitor to our solar system may have been a probe sent by an advanced alien civilization.
So we suggested that perhaps this object is a technological relic. In fact, a sail produced by another civilization, and the first indication that such a civilization exists.
Loeb's theory didn't win him any friends among other scientists, especially when he turned it into a best-selling book.
All right, Jill next.
So, Avi, I get a little bit pissed off when you throw the entire scientific culture under the bus, because some of us have been thinking about and building instruments to find anomalies for a very long time.
My colleagues responded very negatively.
I am not convinced that Avi's right about this. You know, there are a lot of people here who know a lot more about asteroids than I do, and they say, look, it looks like an asteroid, it quacks like an asteroid, it has all the characteristics of an asteroid.
SETI's Seth Shostak wasn't persuaded by the Navy videos either.
Think about the fact that there are 750 or so satellites up there whirling around the Earth, making those photos you find on Google Earth. Don't you think they would have found some of these saucers if they were really around?
You sound like a skeptic about there being extraterrestrial intelligence, and yet you work for SETI, whose mission supposedly is to find it.
Yeah, I have no doubt that there's extraterrestrial intelligence. But it's a different thing to say, and not only are they out there, but they've come to visit. But the evidence, to my mind, is not good.
Loeb, Kane, and Shostak all agree on one thing, that the government and the scientific community should spend more effort and money on the search for alien life.
The scientific community refuses to discuss it. I think this should be a mainstream activity. Just like we are doing archaeology on Earth, we can explore archaeology in space in search for past cultures that are not around anymore.
Next month, if all goes well, the Pentagon's UFO research group, now called the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, will finally go public with a report requested by Congress. But no matter what that report winds up saying, Seth Shostak doubts it will change anyone's mind. Is there anything wrong with people believing whatever they want to believe?
I don't see too much harm in it, to be really honest about it. I mean, the aliens, if they are here, they don't do much, right? They don't address the national debt. They don't cure any disease. They don't do anything except occasionally appear to people in their cell phone videos.
So live and let live.
Yes. Yeah, maybe that's the right attitude.